Howdy gamers. Hopefully by the end of this you know what, not so much what to run on Sivir for the runes, but why to run them. In my opinion, the only keystones that really matter on Sivir are the ones offered in the precision tree. I suppose you could maybe get some utility out of something like Unsealed Spellbook, but as it stands, I think that with Sivir's current build being Essence Reaver into IE, I think everything in the precision tree is just going to outweigh that. But if that were to change, maybe you'd see something like Unsealed Spellbook come out. Any of the options in, for example, like the Sorcery Tree and Domination Tree, they don't really add anything to Sivir, as you're going to be weaker in the early stages of the game. That's just the nature of ADC in general. And Keystones and everything else offered in these trees isn't going to compensate that. Even like to the highest degree of like Airy plus like Scorch isn't going to really make your poke do anything that it otherwise wouldn't do in your Q and in your W. And then you'd be trading off a lot of damage, a lot of meaningful damage from the precision tree to run something like that. So in the precision tree, you have the keystone options of Press the Attack, Lethal Tempo, Fleet of Footwork, and Conquer. All of them you can make a pretty good argument for Sivir. I think the only really useful ones are Lethal Tempo and Conquer. With Press the Attack, hitting an enemy champion with three consecutive basic attacks deals bonus adaptive damage based on your level, and then also exposes them, increasing all damage they take from all sources. Not bad, but Sivir doesn't have ways to really proc this in the laning phase, so you lose out on a laning tool, and then mid to late game, it doesn't really add anything. It does help you against tanks, I suppose, but Lethal Tempo would also do the same thing, and then also give you extra utility on targets that you're also hitting outside of the tank, and you also would have a laning tool in it. With Fleet of Footwork, attacking builds up energy stacks, and then the energy stacks build up to like a heal and then a movement speed increase. Sivir already has a movement speed increase in her ult, and the extra movement speed increase in the laning phase isn't going to do much. It might get you in range of a Q, but your Q should really be a punish, as Sivir's so short range anyways. You can look to use your Q to punish whenever they last hit versus hitting the wave, getting the movement speed, and then throwing the Q. It just doesn't add up. And then the healing offered from Fleet of Footwork is kind of negligible, so I don't think it's good at all as well. With Conquer, it's not bad on Sivir, but it's not the best, and it doesn't outweigh Lethal Tempo in my opinion. With Conquer, your basic attacks and spells build up Conquer stacks. It's only one stack per instance of damage, so it stacks up slower because you're range, so it has that going against you. The Conquer stacks give you attack damage. That attack damage is going to be inevitably lower than what you could get if you were, say, like a solo laner with Conquer, because the attack damage offered is based on your level. As AD carry, you're going to cap out on levels come mid game, so you have less levels early game and you have less levels mid game. You do have more levels late game though, and that's where Conquer comes into play, as it would be more useful late game because of the attack damage offered and then the healing offered. It just gives you access to extra attack damage and healing in the like super late game scenarios. So if you're playing in the LCK and you're going to get to like 35 minutes for free, I think Conquer might be an okay option, but are you doing that? Okay. Well, anyways, with Lethal Tempo, 1.5 seconds after you after you damage an enemy champion, you gain 40 to 110% attack speed increase based on your level. And then for 3 seconds, and then attacking a champion extends that effect for 6 seconds. And then Lethal Tempo is only on a 6-second cooldown. With Sivir's W, you can deal like 10 to 20 damage with it pretty ambiently without the enemy really noticing, and then you can proc Lethal Tempo in the laning phase. And then whenever you do that, you have the ability to shove the wave even harder or look to take a small trade against the enemy champions. So with that, you gain access to this laning tool that's mostly about the wave manipulation early, and then it transitions into this DPS tool where you're building Essence Reaver and Infinity Edge early, so you don't really have to build an attack speed item because of the keystone, and that's really the strongest part of it, given the best build available for Sivir with the current items that are available. So I think that's the huge value in Lethal Tempo, is that you get access to this attack speed without having to build it, and that pretty much outweighs the extra damage from Press the Attack or the scaling from like Conquer, because you don't get really good values out of Conquer until the super late game. You get better values out of press attack early game, but that's not really where you should be looking to spike as Sivir. It should be the mid game. And Lethal Tempo helps you get to the mid game by having the laning tool that lets you control the wave. And then once you're at the mid game, gives you a lot more DPS because of the attack speed offered. This DPS is also going to be on the target that's in front of you. So then through that, the more attacks you get on them, maybe the more ricochets you can get. And where you're building so much crit too, you're giving yourself more opportunities to actually crit, along with just damaging the enemy champion. So I think by far Lethal Tempo is the best keystone for that reason. So with Lethal Tempo, it puts you in the precision tree, and then you have good options in the third row for all of these runes, honestly. Presence of Mind, giving you extra mana, also restores your mana on kills and assist. And then Overheal, giving you an extra shield whenever you lifesteal. And then Triumph, giving you heals on kills and assist. With Presence of Mind, I think it's your best option, but it's also your greediest option, as you lose out on a lot of effective HP with Triumph and Overheal. What Presence of Mind offers, though, is a lot of mana, and then... Sure. It offers you a lot of mana, and then with that mana, you have more opportunities, especially in the mid game, to poke with the Q without running out of mana. In extended fights, or whenever you're just in a situation in the mid lane in which it's both bot lanes in the mid lane, you're permanently pushing the wave into them, you're going to have the mana regeneration from Essence Reaver. But if you can't hit a minion, or if you can't hit a champion, more importantly in extended fights, whether you're fighting around Baron, Dragon, or Elder Dragon, then the extra mana is going to help you spam your Q without really running out of mana, because you're not really gated by the Q's cooldown in an extended fight or just in a skirmish. You're gated by the mana that you have access to, and where you don't want to be spending your spell shield at that stage of the game to regen mana, because it's just so expensive, and you introduce an opportunity for the enemy team to engage on you. That's where Presence of Mind really comes into play. And it also kind of synergizes really well with Lethal Tempo in that sense, where you're trying to spike in the mid game, and it helps you do that through just having more access, more mana for more Qs. The mana regen, whenever you get a kill or assist, I don't know how useful that really is, but it could come in clutch. Probably more clutch than the HP regen, because Sivir's so short range, and it's mostly going to be you're dealing with champions that are diving on top of you, and it's really just if you can finish them off versus not, and having another boomerang is just going to help you do that. With Triumph takedowns restore 12% of your missing health and grant you additional 20 gold. It's not bad. That extra HP, especially in 2v2s early, just makes things easier, gives you a lot more leniency. It corrects a lot of mistakes. It allows for more errors, but I don't think it's really necessary. With Overheal, I think it's a pretty good option, as excess healing on you becomes a shield for up to 10 plus 10% of your max health, and then the shield is built up from 20 to 100% of your excess healing from yourself or an ally. With this, in combination with Bloodline, and then all other lifesteal that you can build, and if you're playing with an Enchanter champion, is really good. If you're not playing with a champion that can heal you, I think Overheal is kind of overrated, especially if you're not playing against other ranged supports in the bot lane, because that's the best value out of Overheal, is where you build this shield up in the laning phase. Whether you're laning mid, or whether you're laning bot lane or mid lane in the mid game, that shield's still going to be relevant. So if you're not playing against champions that can poke you, like Ezreal, Zyra, etc., if you're playing against like Draven, Nautilus, Overheal doesn't do a whole lot comparatively. So against those poke champions and against ranged bot lanes, and when you're playing with an Enchanter champion, really consider running Overheal. But defaultly, I think Presence of Mind is completely fine and a really good greedy option, because those boomerangs deal so much damage, and if you just have the mana to cast them, man, you can just actually just deal so much more damage. And the third row, the attack speed offered from Alacrity is okay, but again, where you're building, you're really just supplementing the best build for Sivir right now, which again is Essence Reaver Infinity Edge. So with Bloodline, it makes it so that you don't have to build the lifesteal early, whether it be through Vamp Scepter or like multiple Doran's Blades. So with Lethal Tempo and then Bloodline, you're getting your attack speed and your lifesteal just from your runes, and that's so effective for an ADC, especially where all your gold is going into attack damage early. the attack damage is empowering, this attack speed offered, and then this mana offered, or this lifesteal offered. I suppose it's empowering the mana offered too, because it's giving you more damage on the Q. For the 4th rune here, you're really choosing like how you amplify your damage. Coup de Grace gives you more damage on targets who are below 40% health, and then Cut Down's giving you 5 to 15% more damage on champions who have more max health than you. So obviously, if you're playing into 3 or more tanks, Cut Down's going to be your better options. Champions like Ornn, Zac, Scion, Nautilus, etc. If you're playing against any of those, really consider running Cut Down, because the damage offered from Coup de Grace isn't going to help you kill them. It's only going to help you kill the squishier targets. But if you're playing into a lot of bruisers or assassins, Coup de Grace is going to be your better option, because those champions aren't going to have a meaningful amount of maximum health over you to give you more damage through Cut Down. So instead, Coup de Grace is going to help you finish off those champions and just DPS them more whenever they're lower. And since Sivir has a lot of DPS, especially in combination with Lethal Tempo, you have a lot of ways to actually get the damage amplification from Coup de Grace to be meaningful. If that 8% is on like an auto W with the auto attack reset and then auto Q, that's a lot of extra damage. So depending on your matchup, really consider running Cut Down. But then I suppose a better default, if you're just looking for like blanket runes, would be Coup de Grace. But do like actually really consider Cut Down. It's such a good rune for most ADCs. For the secondary runes, Inspiration is totally overrated. It's really outdated, and what Inspiration offers you is Magical Footwear and then Biscuits. Magical Footwear saving you 300 gold on boots, which Sivir doesn't need. And then Biscuits giving you a little bit of extra mana. The HP restored by these is a joke. It's not even important. But it also would permanently increase your maximum mana. But if you're already doing that through Presence of Mind, you don't need it. The highest value of Biscuit Delivery 2 is that you can overstay in the lane and then have the extra mana to just shove out the wave and then get a reset off. Or to have the extra mana to have an extra Q to finish off a target or whatnot. So it's basically like 300 gold, and then I don't know the gold value of Biscuits, but it's a little under, like, I would say it's around like 300-ish. So it's like 600 gold value, right? From Inspiration. It's not bad, but I do think Inspiration is beaten. Both Free Boots and Biscuits, I think, are both beaten entirely by Nimbus Cloak. With Nimbus Cloak, after you cast a Summer spell, you get a movement speed increase that lasts for 2.5 seconds and allows you to pass through units. The movement speed increase is based on the cooldown of the Summer spell that you cast, so the longer the cooldown of the Summer spell that you cast, the higher the movement speed increase. This is so valuable for like most ADC champions. With Sivir, she's short range, and then she doesn't have a gap closer, so this becomes even more valuable for her. The extra movement speed offered is going to help you whenever you're playing offensively. It's going to help you run champions down. When you're playing defensively, it's going to help you get away from them. When you're playing neutrally, it's going to help you with the back and forth, baiting the enemy into you, pulling them closer as you're running away, and then turning back onto them when they turn. There's so much leniency and luxury in this rune, and it's just so good. It's so much better than saving 300 gold in almost every situation. It scales harder because you just get access to this movement speed in the mega late game versus having saved 300 gold. If you're flashing away and then you have this extra movement speed, you're going to be able to turn and actually deal damage while also still running away. So it helps with your kiting to a huge degree. Like I said, helps you off aggressively, neutrally, and defensively. It's such a strong rune. Where you're playing in the bot lane as well, it's a really long lane. So even if you do heal, it's not going to give you enough movement speed to get away. But with Nimbus Cloak, maybe it will. And then whenever you flash, it's the same deal. So it's going to help you in the earlier stages of the game to run away or to run people down, and then in the mid game, it's going to help you with that neutral utility to inevitably get more damage on the targets if you're kiting correctly. It's so useful, man. And then with Nimbus Cloak, it puts you in the sorcery tree. Your only good option here really is Gathering Storm. The extra movement speed from Celerity doesn't really do anything, even though it seems like it would be cool for Sivir. The extra attack damage offered from Gathering Storm is going to be better. The reason you wouldn't go Absolute Focus is because with Absolute Focus, while you're above 70% health, you gain bonus attack damage based on your level. So you have to be above 70% health. That part sucks. And then where it's based on your level, that part also sucks, as you're an ADC champion, so you're going to be getting less levels than other champions in the game. With Gathering Storm, you gain attack damage every 10 minutes. So at 10 minutes you gain 5, at 20 minutes you gain 14. Most games you're going to be sitting on those values, and that's completely fine. In combination with the BF sword items that you're buying, and then the attack speed offered from Lethal Tempo, Lifesteal from Bloodline, you're going to be sitting on enough AD to be dealing meaningful damage. So, and then if the game goes later and later, then it's just even better for you. So you have really good mid-game spike with this. You have a lot of utility in Nimbus Cloak, Presence of Mind. You have really good scaling with Lethal Tempo, Bloodline, and Gathering Storm. And then you have the damage amplification from either Coup de Grace or Cut Down. And that's really all there is to say about the runes. Of course, you want to run the attack speed, attack damage, and then armor. If you're playing into a double AP matchup in the bot lane, sure, run the Magic Resist. You can also consider running Nullifying Orb in those matchups. But that's really it. So I hope that gives you better understanding on Sivir runes. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I answer literally all of them. If this video helped you, leaving a like on the video helps me. If you're interested in more League of Legends content, I'm going to be posting a lot more than just runes on this channel. A lot of general things, and it's not really like in-depth. It's kind of casual, so it's not like I'm beating you down with information all the time. But yeah, consider subscribing. And then if you're interested in watching me play or talk about League of Legends, you can check out my Twitch. It's twitch.tv/SawyerNelson. Links in the description, man. Dude, you guys remember Forgiven Sivir? He had, okay, like whatever happened on Schalke 4 this season, who cares? But like Forgiven Sivir was so clean back in the day. It was gross. It was gross. He would play a perfect laning phase every single time. You got to bring that back, man. You got it. Not you, but like someone does.